But anyway, all right, let's get into the news. We're going somewhat backwards from our doc, so we're gonna start from Battlefield. Hold your excitement, hold the applause. We wanted to bring up these Steam charts because recently the player count for Battlefield has really dipped to a level that is pretty much unthinkable. So this is a 1 month view of Steam charts, and before it bottomed out to about 1.4K here and there. Here's like a 1.4, starting to get to 1.3. Okay, then it like went up again for whatever reason. Maybe an update came out over the last couple days. Then it bottomed out again. Maybe these are like weekends. Yeah, these are weekends. So it's starting to bottom out at like 1.3. And now we get to April, and now it's at 1.2. Or sorry, 1.0. 1.022 here. And we're like real close to under 1K, and then we hit that. As of this week, Battlefield 2042 has less than 1,000 players concurrently at times. And looks like those times are very specific to like midnight. So like right here,
Yeah,
this is...
I mean, they're overnight in the US when everyone's asleep.
When everyone's going to sleep. The weekend numbers for this game peak out at around 2.3K. There was like a second where I saw 2.3, I think. Yeah, there's 2.3. So, like, a 2.3 peak for Battlefield is bad. But for, like, another game, maybe, like, I said, okay, yeah, that's not bad. But for Battlefield, like, hitting peaks of that and hitting lows of under 1K, you know, those lobbies are, like, what, 100 players or something?
Oh yeah, that's right. I didn't even think about that.
The lobbies are massive. I don't think it's 100 players, but it's like it's a big amount. So let's just say it's 50.
It's like 60 or something like that. 64 maybe.
Yeah, let's do an easy number. Let's do 50 for now. It's probably 64 or something, but let's do an easier number, 50. Like when you hit that 900 mark here, or like under 900 here, 1K, like you're looking at, oh god, it hit 800. Oh, it hit 800 yesterday. Like you're looking at this going, there's probably 16 lobbies up. If everybody's playing the same mode.
If literally everyone's playing multiplayer in the same mode.
Yep.
Yeah.
That's like 16. That's 16. That's really bad for this game. I'm fairly certain, just on a guess, EA has already abandoned this game. It's like, yeah, whatever roadmap you've already contractually got out, you know, just finish it and then you're done. Move on. You're done. There's nothing left to do here. I don't even know like what can salvage this game. I don't think there is anything that can salvage the game. Yeah, but hitting 800 below 1K on here is really bad. I don't think we can stress it enough how bad it is. Like, I feel like at some point we're gonna hit May. If it ever dips under 500, I think DICE and EA need to hit some kind of like...
That's like some Babylon's Fall numbers. Right
I think EA and Battlefield need to figure out, okay, should we just like somehow do like a reset? Or do we just say, okay, we're done putting stuff out now? Like, game servers will stay up for however long we feel like, but we're done making content for this. Just like complete stop. I don't know, Spoon.
Yeah, I mean, if you look at the numbers here, you know, they had 100,000 all-time peak. That's probably, you know, around the release day, or on the release day, or probably the weekend after the release, whenever that was back in November.
Yeah, so like on release, unfortunately, I can't get, you know, because it released at the end of near the end of November here. But if it peaked at that point, it more than likely peaked somewhere in here. So if we just go, like, for example, 21, let's say 11, 14, like it peaked on release, which I feel like makes a ton of sense.
Yeah.
And just like the slow descent.
Yep.
Going from 100, here's 40, and then if we actually go 22, now in January. Like this graph is really like gross looking at
I
it.
mean, yeah, it's just a
This is gross.
It's like down. Yeah.
It's just down. There's just nothing here. And it just keeps plummeting. And now we're looking at like, okay, 100, here's under 50, here's under 20. And now we're here in like February under 4K. And today we're, let me just reset this page. Today, like we're hitting under 1K at midnight consistently.
Yep.
It's not even like once in a while. It's consistent. And we're peaking at under 2K consistently now. On the weekend, it's not even that much better on the weekend. It's marginally better in my thought.
Couple hundred better.
Like it's
maybe 500.
The low point is much better, but the peak is not. So this is like,
I mean, we kind of said it when we talked about this game when it came out. It was just another flop of a release from Battlefield with, the game is worse than the last game, and the last game people didn't like anyways. And there were other options like Halo. Halo has its own issues in the lack of content category, but at least Halo was fun at first.
I'm gonna look up Battlefield 5. That was a recent one, right? Check this out. Battlefield 5.
It's about the same, or it's actually a little better.
It's much better on the peak.
Oh yeah, 24-hour peak 17,000. Holy crap!
It's much better.
Yeah, so nobody likes 2142. Like that game is just garbage.
Like look at that. It seems to peak overnight, which is interesting, into the morning, and then it dips down. Is there like is this an EU audience? This has to be the EU audience.
Yeah, maybe.
Or something. Let's look at the weekend. So in the weekend, we hit a low here. Yeah, you can even look at this like, this is super interesting looking at. So at some point when 2042 came out right here, you can see the player base dropped.
Yeah, people were playing 2042.
Makes sense. And then it got to here and it stabilized. And then it went up again. So at this point in January, people just said, okay, we're done.
We're done with 2042. We're going back to Battlefield 5. And by the way, people didn't like Battlefield 5 either. That game was not very... I mean, it was better than 2042, but it had its issues as well.
It did. It looks like here, like, the player base did steadily grow over time. And then the new Battlefield came out. And now it's just going back down. And it's just like, these guys are just... Like they've just completely screwed those. Like look at this too. Battlefield 1 Revolution. This thing is peaking better than 2042. Like Battlefield 1 Revolution is doing better now. So here's the player count for this. At some point when 2042 comes out, people are leaving, and then it restabilizes again to around 11K. Like it never went down. And it's peaking better than 2042. I've never seen this like kind of thing before. For something like this where a new title is so hated that people would rather play Battlefield 4, which you can see this game has pretty close metrics to 2042. Battlefield 1 and then going back to Battlefield 5. I've never seen this kind of thing before. With a game like this, just like a mass exodus. So
yeah, I mean, Battlefield 2042 is just bad, and people are showing that they don't like it.
Yeah, definitely. I don't know. I think if your player count gets close to 500 concurrent, like if your peak goes under 1K, I think EA pulls the plug on any content. I think they're just like, whatever content we had, we're done. We're not putting money into it. You're gonna stop working on it. You're just gonna keep the servers afloat, and that's it. We're not gonna change anything. We're not gonna fix anything. I mean, like, I don't know what they're fixing right now, but like if I was them, I just stop. Let's look at. I just want to look at one more thing. Okay. So anyway, any other Battlefield thoughts? I'm just like amazed. This is amazing to me.
Yeah, not really. I mean, yeah, the game's crap. That's kind of all it boils down to is the game's crap. They're not obviously updating it or adding any substantial content that people want to come back for, and yeah, it's kind of it. It's kind of it.
Yeah. Yeah, you can't sustain the game can't be sustained with under 1K. It's just they'll stop. Okay. Moving on from Battlefield. Halo Infinite Season 2 Lone Wolves announcement trailer. There was a YouTube video, very short YouTube video I want to add. It was 26 seconds. Yeah. It did nothing. This is just new maps, which is nice. I don't know what else it said. New modes, new limited time events, new battle pass.
Yeah. I mean, it's good, but from what I've heard, at least from what people have been able to, like, I don't know, data mine or something like that, there's only 2 new maps. One for Big Team and one for, Arena or 4v4.
Yeah.
Which to me isn't enough. They needed at least 2 more Arena maps and 1 more Big Team map.
Yeah, I think 1 more Big Team map is fine. I think 1 more Big Team is probably fine. What I don't know what the new modes are. That'd be interesting to see what the modes are.
Yeah, I don't either. Again, the trailer was kind of it was very vague.
Yeah, it wasn't much. 1 map for Arena and everything else. That's like the more normal 4v4.
The 4v4 mode, yeah.
Yeah, that's not enough. I think if that new map goes into ranked, it's fine. Like that's great. Ranked doesn't get every map.
It's probably gonna go into ranked. If it doesn't, that's a problem because I know people are like, don't. I know people got just burned out on ranked because it's the same maps over. Like,
Oh no, I understand that.
Not enough content.
I was burned out of the game. And I don't even know if I'll like make any significant progress before May 3rd. Like, so I'll probably just stay where I'm at in the battle pass. Like, I guess. This should not have said starting May 3rd. What this should have said is starting February 3rd, we're going to have a new season. This should have come out 2 months ago.
Should not have taken 6 months to get a new season that's seeming very, like, they're not really adding that much. And they already said that, Forge and co-op campaign are delayed even further. So lol.
I'm just going to put it in perspective for a second. Okay. And I'm going to use Fortnite because Fortnite's a very easy example for this. An average Fortnite season is 80 days long. Okay. We're just going to stick with that. Months. And in chapter 2, there's like over time it increased. The average went up to like 103. So yeah, 3 months. Okay. That is like a pretty nice length for a season. For at least from my perspective. It's like, it's enough where if you're playing it, and Fortnite does a decent job of putting out like these like minor updates here and there that are enough where it's like, oh, like there's like this new thing that you can interact with that kind of adds like an element to the battle royale. That's like, it switches it up a little bit. Not a lot, but a little bit. So 100 days in the context of like a Halo, which had a multiplayer come out early before the campaign, would have been February.
Mm-hmm.
Instead, they had an extra couple months tacked on, and they had a 5-month season, right? It's like a 5 to 6 month season.
6 month season.
Yeah. It's a 6-month season, which is just that's way too long to have. And like an in-game, like some of the in this game, like Halo, the only change up is we added like a limited time mode, but that's not enough to stimulate people to want to come back. Here's what I would think. Halo needs to get to a point where they start rotating weapons, I think. Not major weapons in ranked. I think ranked should stay the same to some degree. I think they should start rotating weapons a little bit more. Like in ranked, in certain maps, you know where the heavy is. You kind of have like it rotates the heavy or like the shotgun, like the tier 2. So like on the map, it already does that. But what I mean is like Halo needs to add a few more weapons and then actually rotate a bit better with weapon pools. Not to like a serious degree. Like the BR should always be the ranked weapon for Halo ranked. It just should be. But what I mean is like there's a pool of like 1 or 2 weapons in certain slots on the map that you can find. Maybe they add a third one to that pool and remove one every once in a while. That can change things up. Get a new mode into ranked. Have a better pool of ranked modes. Would also maybe change things up. I'm very curious to see how long season 2 lasts also. If season 2 is also 6 months,
the game's dead.
Yeah, it's just not. You can't do that. This needs to be like a 3-month season tops.
Yeah, I mean, I think initially they said they had planned for doing 3-month seasons, but the first one was longer because
they had to fix stuff.
Yeah,
they had a lot of
probably
problems.
because they just had to fix stuff and they didn't have enough content ready for to make a 3-month season.
Yeah,
but hopefully they are at least accruing content that they are working on so that they can more consistently release content after season 2 comes out.
Yeah.
But for me, I was hoping for at least one more map than this, one more arena map than one map.
I agree with you. I think 1 and 1 is a little bit, considering you had to wait 6 months. I think you'd be disappointed.
And like the game only had, I mean, how many maps were there in the game at the beginning? There was 3 big team maps and like 6 or 7 arena maps, but 2 of them you don't play in rank. Or there was launch site, which is horrible. Like that map just sucks.
Yeah, that's a bad map.
And
Behemoth?
It's not in ranked anyways. And then there's Behemoth, which was in ranked initially, but I think they took it out
because nobody likes it.
Because it sucks. Also,
nobody liked it.
They're both larger vehicle-based arena maps, and it's just like nobody wants to play with vehicles in like ranked, in 4v4 ranked. It's just unbalanced and stupid. So that left it with like, I think it's 4 or 5 maps basically to play, and that's just not enough, man. It's like, think about when like Halo 2, like older school shooters came out, like Halo 3. I think most shooters like back in the late 2000s or early 2010s, like they would release with at least 10 maps, if not like 10 to 15, something in that range, like 12, 13, something like that. So I don't know. There just was not enough content in this game on release. I really think, obviously they couldn't do this because I'm sure Microsoft was like, that game had been in development for way too long and they needed to start actually making money on it. But to be honest, this game probably could have used another at least 6 months, if not a year before they actually released it.
Yeah, we're not even talking about the campaign too. That campaign, it was fun, but there's pieces of it you can easily say, okay, this doesn't look like somebody finished it. I think 3 months would have been okay for a delay. Another 3 months might.
Yeah, at least to just get the issues fixed.
I'm thinking what they had, like betas, right? They had beta. They had the tech demos and all that.
They had those. They had those multiplayer tech test but they were limited, and
They
you
were
had to sign up
limited.
for them and stuff like that.
This game, rather than releasing, should have delayed and done a full like month beta, like a full month. Just let the beta go for a full month.
Technically they did, with the November release, because the release date of the game was what, December something, 7th maybe.
Yep.
And the multiplayer beta, quote unquote, released in
2 weeks earlier.
No, it was almost a month. It was like early mid-November. So
yeah, but,
2, 3, maybe 4 weeks.
But that's not a beta. It's not a beta.
Yeah, I mean they called it a beta, but it was a full release. Let's be quite
that's
honest.
A full release.
Like,
what they should have done is done a beta, not necessarily made a bunch of changes during that beta, and then taken all the feedback people done. Okay, maybe 2 weeks, 2 weeks, and like left the battle pass up too, like left all that stuff up, and let people comment on it, and said like if you made a purchase during this period, it carries over, kind of thing. And then people could have
shut it down for a little bit,
and then people would have told you this is a really bad battle pass, and then they wouldn't have had to waste weeks fixing the battle pass, which that was what it was. They wasted weeks on that. They would have been like, okay, well, we'll delay it 3 months. You guys gave us some good feedback. We'll delay it 3 months. We'll fix all this stuff. We'll get like some of the new content started as we're rolling out a full release in like some kind of like February window, and then we'll have season 1 from February, March, April, and then season 2 goes out in May, and that's like a good window for people to get going and stuff. But yeah, I think at some point somebody said, okay, we need this out now. This needs to be out. It's been too long.
Yep.
Somebody who is wearing probably a nice suit said, nope. Money time.
Yep. Like this is burning a hole in my pocket now. We need to get this out.
Somebody says money time. It was a correct window to release it in strategically, in that all the other shooters were kind of on a down moment.
Yeah.
Like the ones that are like COD, competitive. Yeah. The ones that
Battlefield Battlefield and COD both had down years.
Yeah. So this was the right time. It's just it wasn't ready, and it was kind of unfortunate that it wasn't. But it looks like when I looked at Steam charts, the player count was still like at a decent level. Like if you go to Steam chart, the 30-day average is we're still hitting about 8K peaking, 7K peak, down overnight into about 2.5. Not the worst, but we also have to put it into context. It was at 256. And then it went to 147, which I think is a natural progression. Yeah. And then it went to 62, and then 31. It halved. It almost halved every single month. And now we're at 12
I mean, yeah,
KP.
I think they would have kept closer to that like 50, 60K in February if they would have had a new season start in February. Because like all those people that left, to me, are people who like they got burned out of the game, they got tired of the content, and they probably completed the battle pass.
Yep.
Right?
Yep, they did.
Because a lot of people were finishing the battle pass if you were playing consistently in that range, like late January, maybe, or like mid-late January, maybe early February. You were done with the battle pass, and then what? There's no progression. Yep. You can play ranked, but other than that, there's no progression in the game. So unless you like it that much, what's the point? There's nothing to work towards.
Right.
So
if they had that season come out in February, this average player count would have probably bumped back up to 50 and then gone down again over a couple months. Now, when the new season comes out, my guess is we're going to hit maybe 20. Maybe 20. Because all the other people are going to be like, okay, well.
Yeah, I mean, I may not. I'll see. I may not go back and play it again in May, though, to be quite honest.
You've got to see, like, there's some stuff that Halo needs to figure out too for longevity, but it's like making the season shorter is a good starting point, I think, besides 6 months, which hopefully they will. So anyway, any other stuff?
Nope.
Okay, give me a second. Okay, can I just skip ahead in this KH video? Can we like skip all the other stuff.
I think we should save KH for the end, to be honest.
Okay.
End of the news, to be honest. But yeah, you can skip ahead in the video either way.
Okay. Let's go. Let's move things around there. Let's go to why don't we stay on like some of these publishers here? I don't know how much there is actually to say about this article, frankly, for me at least.
Yeah,
so I think this is a good one. I think the only thing that's important is that in this suit that's being filed against Activision, Gavin Newsom, who's the California governor, is interfering in Activision's favor, which I just the only
bad look, real bad look.
Yeah, the only way I can see him doing this is somebody's paying him. Somebody's giving him a donation.
He could have campaign donations from Activision or something like that. I don't know if that's true or not, but that's my guess.
Which is again still it's bad looking in multiple ways there. One, you're supporting a company that has this reported abuse, and number two, it's very clear how much influence a company has here in your office. There's so much trust to be lost there. So I think it was one of those things where Activision Blizzard probably donated to the campaign, or somebody in Activision Blizzard who's like, an executive did something like that. Maybe Bobby did, who knows. And is like, okay, I'm gonna need you to slow down the suit. I'm gonna need you to slow things down. And he did. He basically what he would do is he repeatedly demanded advance notice of litigation strategy and of next steps in the litigation, which was seen by Bloomberg as we continued to win in state court. This interference increased, mimicking the interests of Activision's counsel. So that paragraph is what we were just discussing. There's really not too much more I think we need to get into. Some of it's just details on what the suit is and who is involved in like getting, either was fired, attorneys are being fired or resigned, who are in the suit. So it's a bad look for Gavin. This is just a bad look.
Sure is.
So, okay. Let's continue. We have Ayuden Chronicle, the Kickstarter game, is this prequel coming out that is an action RPG, and it's called Ayuden Chronicle Rising, and it's coming out May 10th.
Yep.
I don't know, like, other details besides just this tweet. Like, if there's any videos of gameplay or anything, it doesn't seem like it, I guess.
Yeah, I did see a video of gameplay a few weeks ago, I think.
Okay.
It's it's like sort of HD. I wouldn't call it HD 2D. It's not like the Octopath style, but it is like 2D art.
Okay.
Side scroller action RPG. Looks like a 3-character party. And yeah, it's supposed to be the prequel to Ayuden Chronicle 100 Heroes, which was the Kickstarter game. It's also a spiritual successor from the same like director and other people who were involved with the old time and at once popular Suikoden series. So yeah, this is the spiritual successor to that, and Rising is the action RPG prequel to it.
Was there like a Kickstarter goal for this? Was that like a goal?
Probably. It was probably a stretch goal. I'm not 100% sure.
There must have been one where it's like, hey, we'll do like an action RPG prequel. It's probably pretty small, I would imagine. I'm sure they didn't put too many resources into it, but
yeah, I wouldn't think it's gonna be too big. I also don't know how much it's gonna cost. Let's see if I can look it up on Steam, see if there's actually a price on it.
I'm looking too.
Nope. There's no price. All you can do is add it to your wish list on Steam right
Yep,
now.
of course. And there is a video. I do see a video. Looking at it. I'm just trying to actually get to any sort of action. I see a lot of exploration, but zero action. Please find me something. Okay, there we go. It's in this little window. Okay. Gotcha. 3 characters, side scroller. A little bit of side scroller in here. Okay. It looks it looks like pretty simple and straightforward, so I mean I'll just assume like you did that it was a Kickstarter goal, and it doesn't look like maybe I don't know, maybe there was a lot of development time into it, but it seems pretty straightforward. The game looks pretty straightforward.
I mean, the Kickstarter was. I want to say the Kickstarter was in 2020, so they've been in development for a couple of years now, I
No.
think. But they're working on both this and the main game, I'm sure. So,
Yeah.
And I'm sure the main game is going to be much bigger. Again, being a spiritual successor to Suikoden. Suikoden was like I haven't played any of them, but they were games that were like they're turn-based RPGs, but they were about sort of usually like a wartime thing, and usually there were like lots of party members. Like I think this one's called 100 Heroes because there might actually be like 100 freaking party members in the game.
Okay.
So
That's a lot.
that was like now you
That's a
don't know. I
lot.
don't think you necessarily had to recruit all of them in the game,
They're
like in
just
order to beat it, but you could
you could
theoretically.
get everybody,
Like
I suppose. You could. But
so, yeah.
that's a lot. That's a lot of characters. I can't imagine there's that much depth to all of them. That would be amazing if there was, but
Yeah, probably not.
That's a
Probably
lot.
not. You're definitely gonna have probably a decent chunk of them if there's 100 characters that are pretty throwaway. Maybe you'll have like they'll have a little bit of a backstory and maybe a side quest or something to do with them, and that's about it. But
yeah.
Suikoden 2 is like a kind of a I don't even know if I'd call it a cult classic, but it's like a well loved sort of classic RPG that yeah people generally really like Suikoden 2. So yeah.
Okay. Any other stuff on this one?
Nope. That's about it. I mean, yeah, there's not a lot of other information on it. There's a few videos you could find, and there's no price yet, so I have no idea what it's gonna cost or how long it's gonna be or anything like that. So
okay. Fire Emblem trailer here. Another Fire Emblem Warriors 3 Hopes trailer. I'm not gonna put on the audio. I think we should just sort of like skip ahead a little bit. So here, in this trailer they showed the main protagonist in Three Houses was Byleth. That was the player character. Okay. So in this, they're showing the player character being attacked by Byleth, and Byleth being potentially the antagonist of the story. So it seems like, based on what you told me, that it's like an alternate universe kind of setup. And it's not exactly the same.
That's what it seems like. It seems like an alternate timeline type deal of Three Houses, but I'm not 100% sure. That's just what I'm getting.
Right. You do get the same 3 houses, but they're not the exact same. You get 3 houses, but you get Golden Wildfire, which I'm just trying to get to the other ones. We have, where's the other ones? I don't remember the names. Oh, did I actually just skip over them? Scarlet Blaze and what's it called? Azure Gleam. Azure Gleam, something like that.
Yeah, Azure Gleam.
Yep, and it's like Fire Emblem Warriors. I imagine it's going to be very similar to Fire Emblem Warriors. It looks like there is like some maybe there's exploration of the base camp. Like I'm kind of skipping through to find it, but it looks like there's a little bit of an exploration section. Three Houses had that, so it's nice that this is there too. And then we have Challenge the Ashen Demon. So again, this is where you're challenging Byleth, who could be the antagonist. I don't know. I'm not really a fan of these games personally. I don't really have much to say. I'm not gonna get it, but I know there are people who like the Dynasty Warriors type games, like Fire Emblem Warriors and Hyrule Warriors games that
Yeah.
Nintendo has put out, and so I don't know. Like maybe it'll have like a cool story to do this like alternate universe and Violet's the baddie.
Hmm.
They usually do their they usually do their own like timeline, which I think is the best way to do it. That's probably the best way to do it, is just to have an alternate timeline to the events as like okay, here's like a different perspective on things.
Yeah, because even like Three Houses in itself kind of has 4 alternate timelines based on which path you choose.
Correct.
So, and there's been no information, at least as far as I know, of like what the true, like which path is like the true ending of Three Houses, or what the developer intended as like
Right.
what actually happens after the time skip. So,
It
yeah.
well, the answer is Golden Deer. It's Golden Deer. That's the answer.
I mean, yeah, it might be, but
Golden Deer.
I mean, Golden Deer's the only one who actually kills the main villain.
Exactly.
At the end,
That's why I'm like, that must be like the main. Must be like the one that's like what you might consider as a main one of all.
like
them.
in Black Eagles, you like they say they're going to deal with them,
And then they
but
don't.
then you just don't, and it ends. So that
It's
was
like-
kind of stupid.
Yeah, that was really stupid.
like
That's really stupid. And I mean, Blue Lions just doesn't.
Blue Lion, like Dimitri just hates Edelgard. So
She
he's
just
like
hates- yeah.
Edelgard. So
Which is it's
yeah.
hilarious too, because Golden Deer also defeats Edelgard, and then afterwards she like leaves some note. She's like, "Oh yeah, here's where the main baddie is. You should deal with that." And you're like, "Okay," and then you actually do go deal with it. So like Golden Deer has the route that like has the most resolutions that get dealt with. You like actually go through the Edelgard, like freeing from Edelgard's empire route, and then you also defeat, I think it's like Nemesis or something, who is supposed to be the main villain. It's like you actually do all that in that one, whereas in the other ones, like Edelgard's just resolves after you claim the empire and you secure it.
You kill the last boss is Rhea.
Okay.
Or Dragon Rhea.
You kill Rhea.
Because Edelgard, hates the church, and he's got to take down the church. So
Right.
yeah,
You take out Rhea, and then it just ends, and you're like, but that wasn't okay. You're like, okay, but I don't know. This one, well, I'm thinking may have a similar setup here. As a soldier of fortune, which of 3 diverging paths will you choose? Probably won't be, the same kind of idea, obviously, but
yeah,
maybe we'll get like a nice spin on things. Like in Three Houses, it was interesting to get the perspective of like the Black Eagles, for example, by comparison to like a Golden Deer. And you actually just don't side with Black Eagles. It's like you get this interesting perspective on Black Eagles' motivations by comparison. Whereas Golden Deer are just like, bro, you want to just hang out? You just like, we should all just be cool with each other. Golden Deer was the bro house. So I don't know. Like I'm not gonna play this. I'm not really interested, like I said. But like there's some cool, like Three Houses did have some cool stuff in its story. I'm hoping there'll be something similar here. Because
we'll see. Yeah, these games, like, they can be fun for a bit, but they tend to get really, really repetitive pretty quickly.
Yeah.
I played the first Fire Emblem Warriors a little bit, and yeah, that game got really repetitive really fast. And one of the problems that Tri said, or at least Tri said that Kuru said, because Kuru played the original Fire Emblem Warriors as well, is that like the characters in Fire Emblem Warriors were not unique. It was just based on like classes. So like the sword users were basically all the same, the axe users were all the same, the cavaliers were all the same, and the Pegasus were all the same. They all had like a class basically, and all those characters basically had the exact same moveset. And they will probably do a similar or the same thing in in this one,
Yep.
I would hope, or I would think, not I would hope, I would think, but hopefully there will be more classes in
Sure.
this one, because there were a lot of classes in Three Houses.
There
So
was a ton of stuff. Super bland, only like 5 different fighting styles. Yeah, they should have more than 5. I think maybe more than 5 would be great. But it's easier to copy and paste, so I understand.
yeah, I mean, again, I think they will do something similar, but maybe they will use Three Houses like very, their customization system, where you can kind of take any character whichever way you want, and there will be at least hopefully a decent number of classes in this one that
Right.
vary up the fighting styles.
Yeah. I don't know. Anyway, I like I said, I thought Three Houses had like interesting stories in it. So
Yeah.
hopefully, like these games need good stories, because if they don't, you're gonna get really bored and tired.
Really fast.
Like, I'm gonna make a little bit of a comparison here. Like with Sakura Wars, when we played that, like all those combats were super bland
And really easy.
and
too,
really
like,
easy, right?
Yeah.
And if that game had like a horrendous story or like bad humor, which I don't think the story was like horrible or anything, and like the humor, it was funny, so it kind of like made you want to keep playing it.
Yeah. You like the characters were interesting though.
Yeah,
The characters
you
were,
liked them.
were colorful. Like, I don't think that game had a super plot, but I liked the characters were interesting, and I wanted to see
Yeah,
how that all developed. So
I agree. Like that was what made you want to like do the battles. You're like, okay, well, if I do these battles, I'll get to do this thing, and like you replayed the battles to get certain things in the game. So, although to be fair, Sakura Wars best thing about was Koi Koi.
oh yeah, Koi Koi.
Koi Koi was great. But yeah, this the games like Fire Emblem Warrior, like this Warrior series, need to have a good story. Otherwise, like, why would you keep playing the same bland gameplay like that? Like that, it's just like waves of enemies that you're gonna mow down. You're not really gonna get challenged that much.
Yep.
You gotta have a good story.
You kill the enemies, you capture the points, and you
Right.
kill a boss here and there, and that's kind of it.
Yeah, I agree. Sakura Wars is a pog. That game was so fun. That game was just funny. Anyway, any other Fire Emblem Warrior stuff?
Nope. Oh, one other thing
Oh,
that I didn't add to the doc or the news, because it's not a big thing, but there was a tweet, I don't know, yesterday, a couple days ago, from Scarlet Nexus, that they have had 2 million players now of that game. Not necessarily 2 million copies sold, because some of that is Game Pass, but 2 million players of Scarlet Nexus since it released last June. So
2 million sales obviously would have been a bigger deal, but 2 million players is still great. Even the Game Pass people like jumping on it's a good metric for them to look at and say, okay, like, did we hit 2 million sales? No, but 2 million people were interested and played. So I don't know if they're ever going to make a sequel from that or anything like that, but like it's good. It's a good way to measure. Okay, well, 2 million people were interested enough to play it. And
I'm not sure I would want a sequel to that game. I would want that team to continue to exist and to make something else, like something new again, new and unique again.
Right.
Because that game is very unique and interesting, but yeah.
Or like, yeah, that team making something else. Just like 2 million players, like, okay, there's something there. If you got 2 million players, there's something going on that's probably good. So that's good to hear. I'm happy for that. Okay, now we get to go to KH.
Yep, I'm talking about Kingdom Hearts.
So Kingdom Hearts had its 20th anniversary, and there was a bunch of stuff that got shown in the first 4 minutes, and you probably didn't care. So now we skip ahead to the 4-minute mark.
Yeah, I mean, it was too. I mean, it's the end of Dark Road.
What's that?
Which is it was the, yeah. So, which is it's kind of like the end of the Union Cross story, but Dark Road is the it's like the Xehanort backstory. It's the Xehanort like childhood and like him with Ericus and like becoming a Keyblade wielder and how I guess I assume how Xehanort sort of goes to darkness and kind of becomes evil
Okay.
and becomes the villain of
Sure.
the first saga.
Got
But
it.
yeah, so that's Dark Road, and then the second thing was a new mobile game, which is a 3D mobile game.
Mm-hmm.
That looks like it's gonna have more actual Kingdom Hearts-esque combat, but still like there were these like trophies that showed up for special attacks, so I assume it's gonna be similar to the medals
Is this it? Like
in
what I'm
Unchained
showing?
Key. Yeah, that's it. So I assume that's gonna be similar to the medals and Unchained Key / Union Cross, so it'll still be a gotcha. Yeah, so you see like Donald pop up there, or
Oh
yeah, the
yeah.
different characters. So I assume that again, that's gonna be similar to the medals in Unchained Key / Union Cross. So I'm sure it'll still be a gotcha, but has more Kingdom Hearts-esque combat instead of just sort of like mashy, you know, mobile game combat. Um,
Oh my god. I read this line and it oh god, it made me angry for some reason. The night you awoke in this world, the stars shone contorted in the pitch black sky. I just
that is word. That is words.
oh my god, dude. Who nobody talks like that. Nobody talks like that. It just that is what like the Lost Master arc. Is this the one where oh no, here we go.
Yeah, so that's Missing Link is the name of the new mobile game, and it's just supposed to be in between Union Cross and Dark Road.
Got it.
So, um, and the Lost Master arc is the name of the new arc of Kingdom Hearts following the Dark Seeker saga, which was the first one,
Okay.
and
Got it.
which will begin seemingly with Kingdom Hearts 4,
Yep.
which is the third trailer that we get here.
Yeah. So here's Kingdom Hearts 4 trailer. I'm not playing the audio. Um we'll just play it out with no audio, sorry. But something tells me if we played the audio,
We'd get bopped.
we'd probably something would happen. We'd probably get a copyright somewhere. Uh-huh. So this was the part right here where people speculated that this was a ATST walker from Star Wars.
Mm-hmm.
So people speculated Star Wars is going to be in this and that this could be Endor.
I mean, it pretty much has to be Endor, I would think. But
You would think. And hold on, you would think
yeah.
that.
I guess there's other jungle planets. There's like Yavin 4 and stuff like that.
Yeah.
It's also a jungle planet.
There's more than that, but yeah, I think speculating this is Endor is probably a good speculation.
It's a good guess.
But choice is yours once more. There's the chess piece. We gotta get that. Again, the first time I watched this, I was like, "Is this Final Fantasy?"
Yeah.
So no clown feet in this world. I was disappointed.
And Sora looks like Noctis, except for he has like Sora's outfit. But yeah, and this is a character called Strelitzia, who's from Union Cross as well. So there you go.
This is Quadratum.
Yep, which is the place Sora ends up after he goes poof at the end of Kingdom Hearts 3.
He gets put into a video game.
Yeah, a fictional world.
He gets put into Watch Dogs. And
Watch Dogs.
And then there's this giant, this guy. What are they called again?
Darkseid.
Darkseid, there you go. The tutorial boss. The tutorial boss, He fights his tutorial. He's got to fight a tutorial boss. Why are you taking a picture of the camera? That guy just took a car. Why are you taking pictures? Okay, there's your Keyblade. Using the hook shot there.
Mm-hmm.
Can't believe they copied Halo like that. Unbelievable.
Yeah. This part, flying down the building, that's a rip out of Versus 13, or the original Versus 13 trailer. That was in that. Nomura's Salt arc continues. He just wants to make Versus 13, guys.
Mm-hmm. And then we have our black-robed characters, because all the villains have to look like that now. And there we go. Kingdom Hearts 4. The Legend of Where's Donald and Goofy? There they are. Is this Spider-Man? Yes.
And then we see Donald and Goofy, who are, again, not confirmed, but most people think they are in Olympus again, exploring the underworld, looking for Hades, because you do see Hades at the end here. The blue flame
is Hades.
And then the ensuing red flame when he gets angry.
Yep.
That is Hades. So
magic in the making. There you go. Feel the heat. Yes. I agree. They should have just had Feel the Heat at the end.
I've seen some funny memes with that. It's like, hey, our friend disappeared. Where's the first place we should look? Let's go to hell. Let's look in hell and ask the Lord of the Underworld where our friend is.
I don't know. I just. So I'm like trying to look through the article that you posted here just to make sure. Okay, so this is just a summary. It looks like. Okay, you obviously have many things to say about this. Go ahead.
You want me to go? You don't want to give your thoughts first before I ramble?
Oh, my thoughts are, where are the clown feet?
Yeah.
That's my only thought. When I first saw this, I was actually really angry because there were no clown feet.
Rip Sora's clown feet.
But as you elaborated with me yesterday, he's in video game world, and in video game world, it's like other worlds that you go to in KH where Sora takes on an appearance based on the world that you go to. So it would make sense that if he goes to Final Fantasy VII Remake world, then he'd look like that. He'd look like that. So
yeah,
he wouldn't have clown feet. But I'm still sad that I didn't see clown feet. I don't really have any other opinion besides this. Besides that, the only thing I want to say also is, I'm like trying to think of a way to put this, because the villain is supposed to be, in this arc, the Union Cross people, right?
Yeah, the
four,
the old,
3 or 4,
the old masters.
The old masters, yeah.
The master of masters
with the end, and the ones with the masks, except for one of them. One of them wasn't. One of them was like the underground person. I don't remember her name, if it was a he or she or anything.
Ava was the one who like made the dandelions, who were
the dandelions,
the people. So she's probably not in on it.
She's not in on it.
Yeah,
she's like the one that was not against it necessarily explicitly, but just like not for it.
She was doing her own thing, basically informing the dandelions. So.
She was doing her own thing, and then the others and the old masters are the ones that are supposedly the villains, including who was it that was the what was the reveal where it was like the guy, one of Xehanort's organization members, the one with like the eye patch, was like
Zigbar is Lushu, who wasn't one of the old masters, but he was the master of masters like apprentice, and he had this he was the one who had the box, and it was like the what's in the box thing,
that was the what's in the box thing, so
Zigbar was Lushu all along, and was kind of and we also found out that Xehanort's Keyblade was Lushu's Keyblade. Lushu gave his Keyblade to Xehanort.
That was what the ending of KH4 was. No, I'm putting the pieces together. Okay, my comment was, let's ditch the black robes now. We're done with them. Let's do a different outfit. Let's do something a little different. It's just do something different. I understand that the Master of Masters uses those robes. Let's do something different, please. Let's try and like do something different so we can like understand that it's slightly different. This is like just a very pet peevey thing for me. But if the characters look like that, I'm gonna immediately think, oh, it's organization,
Yeah.
but it's not. So can we please do a slightly different take on the robes?
They'll probably do
Slightly.
something stupid, and he'll call it the new organization.
If they
13
do,
or
I'm
something
done.
like
If they
that.
do, I'm done. I will give zero fuck. I already am like on this story. Like
You give almost zero fucks.
My big problem, which we talked about yesterday, was there's too many games for the story to complete. I'm like on a thread here. I'm on a thread, and I just don't want to hear organization. I don't want to hear that in the new game. If I hear organization, I'm like, that's it.
It's like,
That's
you're
it.
out.
I'm out.
I'm out.
Because it's too stupid now. Like, if they do that, it's too stupid. It shouldn't be. I think it should be it's going to be something else. I hope it's named something else. And can we please change the outfits? They're the KH black robe characters. I get it. It's like kind of iconic in the series now. And Master of Masters wore it. Whenever they did all the flashbacks, he wore it. Let's do something different. Just so we can differentiate a little bit. Because I don't want to see that and go, oh, is the organization back? Like, the KH lore people are going to know. But like me, I'm just like, the first thing I think of is that organization again? Can we just do something else?
There's some theory. There are some spicy theories out there about.
Oh,
I haven't dove into like why they think this, but the prevalent theories currently is that the master, either Demix is the Master of Masters, or Demix, the sort of silly like guitar guy in KH2, the water clone dude.
Why would it be him?
Because the Master of Masters is shown as being kind of silly in like the hour-long movie that was in 2.8.
Okay.
The other prevalent theory is that Sora is actually the Master of Masters. So,
and he just has amnesia.
Or something like that. I haven't dove into like how it all connects and how Sora is the Master of Masters, or how Sora is like reincarnated in the new world, or what time travel bullshit is going on with that. But that's the theory. Like,
the Demix one seems a little bit too like, oh, he's silly, therefore it must be Demix. Like trying to connect the dots to somebody you've already seen. That seems a little bit weird.
The other thing is, most of the other characters, like the organization members that we've seen like who they were before they were nobodies and organization members.
Yeah.
I think Demix is actually the only one now who we don't know their origin.
So that's
basically.
why people are saying that, is like, we don't know his origin.
Larxene and Marluxia were both from in Union Cross.
Okay.
Luxord is from Verum Rex from Yazora's world. We know that from the DLC, because we hear his voice as Yazora's driver in at the end of the DLC.
Okay.
And I think all the other ones are covered as like, people who were in Hollow Bastion or Radiant Garden before it fell to darkness. They were either like researchers or guards, or you had like Syx and Axel, who were both just like kids and they were friends and they got caught up in it and stuff like that.
Everybody else had like.
So yeah, Demix is like the only one who is still unaccounted for at this point. So
if he's the Master of Masters, I'm just like, what? I'm honestly thinking of just going, Nomura, what do you think on a day-to-day basis? Like, what is your day like? Is your breakfast just eggs and shrooms? Is that breakfast for you?
Oh,
you
it's way more powerful than shrooms, man. Like he's got I'm sure he's got the craziest concoction.
I'm just like that. Yeah. That's my only problem. Anyway, that was my whole point, is that I think the robes need to change. I won't even talk about the story. Like, I've mentioned it to you. Like, my opinion is any game that takes like more than 3 games to complete its story is probably not a good story, excluding maybe a few outliers here and there. Like, if your game takes more than 3 games to complete its full story, it's probably not the best story because there's too much stuff. but there's going to be obvious outliers, which you pointed out to me.
I mean,
before.
if it's planned out from the beginning and done well, I
Right.
think it can
Then it can
be
work.
done well.
Yeah, it can
But the
work.
problem with Kingdom Hearts, and again, Nomura has confirmed this, is that he just kind of writes what he thinks of and as far as he can, and then he stops. He
Right.
just like the story is completely contrived. It's like off the top of his head what he can think of that day. He's like, oh well, we'll throw that in because that's what I got today.
Yeah. He's,
He just keeps tacking on
Right.
extra shit to make more. Oh, what are we gonna add to Kingdom Hearts today? Let's do I'm thinking sleeping worlds and time travel. How about that one? And DDD was fucking born on that day.
Ugh.
Like
Nomura writes like a DC universe movie writer, where they're like, well, we haven't planned anything, so we're just gonna write another Batman movie. Is it in the DC universe? I don't know. Who knows? Who cares? Then we're gonna write this. We're gonna do like 2 origin stories and then a Justice League, and then do more origin stories after the Justice League. And you're just like, what? Marvel probably spent years crafting out their story so that all those movies had like a place in the story up until the ending events in Infinity War and Endgame. Which, even if you didn't watch that, understand, like, there were a ton of Marvel movies, and I think they probably spent years crafting out that story and planning it.
Yep.
So that wasn't the best story ever written, but it had a satisfactory ending because all those pieces like fit together so well because it was so well planned out. The strategy of, like, in this case Nomura, or like we'll just say DC, that strategy doesn't work well for like stories.
Yeah, not for
that
making
are like
not for making a cohesive
cohesiveness.
story.
Yeah, it's not cohesive. It doesn't
it
make
feels
sense.
very patched together and like
Yes.
tacked on and contrived because you just keep adding shit on top that you hadn't thought of before, and then you think of a new thing. And it's like, yeah, that sounds good. Let's just add that on
That's like
top.
what I would do. That's what I do
Yeah.
with the stories in D&D. Is like, well, I don't want to plan like a million years ahead. I'm just gonna tack things on after a certain point with the knowledge of like, okay, something's gonna end here. Like, I know where it's gonna end. I know where it begins, and like I know certain important points, but I'm just gonna like I'm just gonna wing it in certain points and come up with a few things here and there.
Yeah,
But that's
D&D is different though because you kind of have to. It's a little more reactionary because the players are given so
Right.
much agency in D&D for the most part.
But
so,
still, like, that doesn't make necessarily for the most cohesive story all the time. And writing like that, like Nomura, pieces did fit together at the end of KH3, I think, to a certain extent. But then you also get I am a portal.
yeah,
And you're like, and he's like, he is a portal.
He is a portal. Xehanort's a portal. What?
And you're like, that's maybe the dumbest thing I've heard. But you get like certain things fell into place pretty well.
I've seen that scene like 5 or 6 times, and I still don't understand it.
I know. Like the game has certain things that work well together though. Like certain things fall into place. You're like, okay, yeah, that makes sense. Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah, that works. But then you're just like, he is a portal. And you're like, that's the dumbest shit I think I've heard. So, anyway, I have faith that KH4 will probably be like a fun game to play. I think casually, if you're not trying to dive and like really be big brained about the story, you'll probably just have fun. Like, those games are fun.
Yep.
And like KH3 was just like an entertaining game to play. Like the gameplay, I enjoyed it as a casual because it was just like flashy and all over the place. But you know, that story, man. Sometimes you gotta turn your brain off with that story too.
Oh yeah.
Otherwise, you start thinking about it and you go, "What?
That doesn't make sense."
And you're just like, where'd that come from? What is that? Anyway, yeah. Spoon, is there anything else that we didn't discuss there that you wanted to bring up? Because we talked about a lot there.
Yeah, we did. Yeah, I think there's been some interviews with Nomura after the trailer, and he's clarified a few things about the trailer. The first thing is the art style, and that the reason Sora looks like that is because he is in Quadratum.
Yes.
and Quadratum looks like a more realistic, quote unquote, or like in this case, like more Final Fantasy-esque world
Right.
as opposed to the more cartoony worlds of like the usual Kingdom Hearts worlds or the Disney worlds, of
Yeah,
course.
he's in a video game. We got it. We got it.
So he looks like a Final Fantasy character. In fact, he looks a lot like frickin' Noctis. And his hairstyle is a little different. And my theory, my personal theory, Nomura hasn't said anything on that, is that he somehow like fused with Yazora's heart after you beat Yazora at the end of the DLC, and he's got some Yazora in him now, which is why his hairstyle has changed to look more like Noctis slash Yazora's.
Okay.
Again, that's just my own personal theory, and Nomura
Sure.
didn't say anything about that.
Why? Sure. Why not?
But yeah, the reason Sora looks like that is because of the world that he's in. As his look changes in a lot of the worlds, different worlds that he
Right.
goes to, Sora's look will change. And they showed Donald and Goofy at the end in the underworld, presumably, because they wanted to show that the usual KH, the more cartoony KH style, is still intact when you are in that type of world, like a normal KH world or a Disney world, obviously. So, the entire game will not necessarily look like what the majority of that trailer looked like in Quadratum. But obviously, we have no idea how much time we're going to spend in Quadratum or other worlds, or... Because presumably, at least right now, Sora is stuck in Quadratum. He has been sent to Purgatory and is now in Quadratum and stuck there. And there are some lines in the trailer that sort of presume that it's going to be difficult for him to escape. There's a line, something along the lines of like, you know, even if you escape this world, you may not necessarily end up where you came from, or something like that. So,
Yep. Got it.
yeah. So, yeah, Sora's in Purgatory in Quadratum, and Nomura's also said there's going to be some themes as well, dealing with like quote-unquote fictional worlds, because to Sora, Yazora's world, Quadratum is fictional, but to Yazora, Sora's world is fictional, because, you know, it's a matter of perspective, right? It's like...
Okay.
So,
it's a weird... That's a weird theme, by the way.
yeah.
It's a very weird theme to deal with.
I don't know if theme is the right word, but he said something along
that theme
lines,
also works for, like, on a silly level. There was a movie called Free Guy with Ryan Reynolds that dealt with this theme. The theme was that Ryan Reynolds' character didn't know he was in a video game until someone explicitly told him, you're in a video game. And it was a crisis for him because he thought he was like a real person, but it turns out he thinks he's fake. And it's just, it deals with that as well. And like, on some level, I think it kind of can be interesting to explore, but for Kingdom Hearts, I don't think that's the venue for that.
It's just another layer on top that's going to make it even more confusing.
For the movie, it was interesting because you actually do, like, it's a silly comedy movie, so like you don't take it too seriously, but like it's dealing with like basically AI and artificial intelligence develops in like this video game. So like, is it real or not? Like there's some level of thought to that. I guarantee Nomura is not thinking that way. He's probably thinking of something else in the clouds over here. That's going to go way too far. Because the movie Free Guy was very compact and simple. And yeah, I don't frankly, I don't trust Nomura with that theme.
Yep.
But it is interesting if it's like a video game world. Like everybody in the video game world thinks it's real, but Sora knows it's not. It's a fictional thing.
Yep.
But like there's something to that. But at the same time, like, yeah, I don't know if there are other themes I'd like to see them explored. That one, I don't see Nomura doing that one very well. But who knows? Yeah. I could be wrong, and that would be nice if I was wrong about that, because there is some interesting stuff to deal with like, for example, if that game had like an artificial intelligence system and like all those people in there are just like AIs. They think they're real. They are like, they're so sophisticated they think they're real. But Sora's like, no, I'm real. I'm in the real world. and he's like, well,
I mean,
if I get out of this game, like the thing about Free Guy that made it so interesting is like they're trying to shut the game down. They're not just going to shut Quadratum down or anything like that. Like the whole point of Free Guy was like, okay, well, you're going to shut this game down, so everybody in here that's like not real, but they're artificial intelligence, are going to die. You're killing this artificial intelligence that is developed in this video game. Like that was like the big reason why shutting it down was a big deal. Like if it was just a regular game with no AI, like no one would care that much.
I think like Kingdom Hearts has dealt with not this particular theme, but something similar in the past with the like the nobodies, Roxas and Xion, and the nobodies, and like, oh, you're a nobody, you don't have a heart or you don't have emotions, but then it turns out that like they do, because you see Roxas like actually have emotions, and they're like, oh, you're not a real person, you're just a nobody because you don't have a heart, and then it turns out that that wasn't true. Like Roxas, through his own experiences, like developed emotions and like connections and became his own person, even though he started as kind of an empty shell, right? So that's kind of the theme of like Days. So yeah, that's, again, it's not exactly the same theme, but it's like kind of
There's
similar in
there,
that, like you're not real, so maybe you don't deserve to exist type thing. Like
you're not real. Like, losing you is not a loss.
Yeah,
but it's like the development of what, like, I guess like a soul.
Yeah,
it changes that, and that's like the point of Free Guy is like it's artificial intelligence that's sophisticated enough to feel things, and so in the game, like you are killing what could be construed as like actual thinking programs. So it's like, is that like you're killing a bunch of stuff? So like that was interesting to some extent. So, but I was like, if that was like the same theme with this in Quadratum, where it's something similar, I mean, it can work. It can be interesting. It's just, yeah.
A couple other things he said is that they are planning reaction commands to return to the game. Reaction commands were in KH2. Hopefully they'll be a little more complex than KH2, because in KH2 it was literally just press triangle, whatever it said to press triangle, plus, which is the old joke of press triangle to win in KH2.
Yeah,
but,
I mean, it's like press triangle, yeah.
Yeah, but hopefully they turn it into slightly more interesting in actual, like, different buttons you have to press for the QTEs, or maybe a little more precise timing that they require you to do with your QTEs. So apparently those are coming back, and people also noticed in the trailer the bottom option on the command menu, it was put in Japanese, but it's in katakana, which is, you know, the sort of like the alphabet that translates to English words, or Western words at least, and the bottom option said build, which is different than anything that has existed in KH2. It was drive, in KH3 it was link, was at the bottom, you had links. So it's build now, and again, Nomura was pretty vague, but he said they're doing something new with the combat, with like building and dismantling or something like that. Fortnite? So again, we don't have any idea how it works. I hope so. Don't be
Fortnite.
Yeah,
finally.
I don't know.
Kingdom Hearts Fortnite. Let's go. Build.
So yeah, apparently that's going to be a new component of the gameplay, and they also said that the trailer was made in Unreal Engine 4, but the game will be made in Unreal Engine 5.
Oh, that's interesting. Okay.
So,
man, people are going to Unreal Engine 5. There you go.
Yeah.
So that trailer was Unreal Engine 4, but game's 5.
Yeah.
Okay.
And that brings us to the last question, or I guess, yeah, is when do you think this game is going to come out?
Okay. I have a comment to make on this. I want to comment on the actual gameplay. Now, normally when you look at gameplay, like, I don't know what I don't know what these mean, but usually you get like more interaction with things, like when you see like people make attacks. Like it was interesting. Like when we saw the drill, for example.
Yeah.
So when we get to here,
Yeah.
there is nothing popped up to say you should do some kind of like reaction, for example. No reaction pop up. Nothing here. Either this was a complete extension of the cutscene, like you don't really interact with it, or somebody made this event just into an actual video and they overlaid this just to give us an idea of what it may look like in the game. And this isn't like fully built out functionality.
Functional, yeah.
So I'm going to give two answers. If this is actually functional here, which may or may not be the case, this is actually functional and there's actually a reaction here that would have happened, things like that. If they're going with what would be a relatively straightforward development cycle, in that, okay, we finished KH4 in 2017, 2018, or 2019, I can't remember. And the DLC came out about a year later, right?
Yeah, the KH3 came out in January 2019, and the DLC came out basically a year later in the early part of 2020.
I expect that if Nomura was not the way he was, if somebody said we need to like kind of plan out a little bit on this story, like who's what and where, they probably spent a year just brainstorming.
Yeah, pre-production
brainstorm. Which means
they also had Melody. I think a wholly different team developed Melody of Memory though. So
yeah, that must have been different.
Don't worry about that.
Yeah,
let's also not forget though that Nomura is also at least consulting on Final Fantasy VII Remake Part 2.
I don't think that's gonna matter enough for the development of this game to really be affected too much. But my point is, that means they've maybe developed this game for a year. Yep. Which leads me to think that this is actually just an overlay on top of video. Which means I'm going to say three years from today. As in, like, it's going to be 3 more years. We're probably going to get an actual fully fleshed out gameplay demo. Maybe we'll get something next year around the E3 time. And then actual gameplay the year after. And then it'll take another year. I think maybe 2025. Because I know how Kingdom Hearts works with like
I think that's reasonable. Yeah. I think at the very best, and this is very best, I don't expect this to happen. Like probably less than 10% chance. This game comes out at the end of next year. Like fall of next year. I think that's very wishful thinking.
Oh, that's super wishful.
Again, less than 10% chance, maybe even less than 5%. But that is 100% best case scenario for KH fans. This game comes out at the end of next year. I think more than likely, it's fall of 2024 or 2025 sometime. I'm more on board with what your thought is.
I think what will happen is like maybe they're planning for 2024. And it'll probably get delayed. I'm planning for like delays to happen. I'm assuming there's going to be a delay somewhere. But that's because like when I look at this, I don't see anything come up for like this is actual gameplay. I think this is a video and somebody put an overlay up.
It doesn't look like there's very much input or interaction on this. And the UI to me looks very placeholder. I mean, the KH UI usually looks something similar to this, but this is basically the KH3 UI and they just like slapped it on top here. And they added this other meter, or that would be like the shot lock meter, the one that says EX on it. That would be like the shot lock or the drive meter. But they just called it EX instead. But like, I don't know what that is. That's just something different entirely. So But yeah, this is like basically the KH3 UI just like slapped on top of this.
I think they put it on a video.
Feels very placeholder to me. So
that's what I think. I think they just did like a video of some kind to showcase what it would look like, and then they put an overlay up to make people think like, oh yeah, this is gameplay. But I don't think so. I don't know. Like I think it's misleading.
Yeah, I agree. I think it's I think there may have been a little bit of player input, like run forward at the beginning, and he said that like that little circle that popped up right before this drill sequence that we're paused on right here, like that's like a reaction command example where you'd have to like hit X or something like that, like when that circle
Oh, I
pops
see
up.
it right
But
here.
but like that's about. I agree with you. Most of this doesn't seem like it's requiring any input from the player, basically.
That could have been an input that I didn't even pay attention to.
Yeah.
But it
But
it's
that's like
very hard.
that's one button push if it's anything, right?
Yeah,
So,
like I'm just because whenever in the past you would get sequences where you'd like actually do stuff like this, there would have been more of an input indication. There would have been a little bit more of an indication happening on the screen that you could do it. It just to me feels like somebody did a video and then put this overlaid on, which isn't like a bad thing. Like if it's supposed to look like this, then show what it's supposed to look like.
yeah,
100%
sure.
fine. I'm just like, because I think it's that, I think it's going to take another several years.
Yeah. No, this feels very like placeholder-y type game. If it's gameplay at all, it's very like placeholder. Like
Right.
this is like I won't even call it a tech demo, but yeah, just sort of like a mock-up of what gameplay might kind of look like in this game, right? Like,
which is fine. I think it's fine to do that as long as you're. I would have appreciated more if they were clear on that and said, "Oh no, this is just like this is like a look of how the gameplay will look." We're like this is not like representative of what actual gameplay is happening.
Yeah, this isn't real gameplay. It's just as I said, like a mock-up of what gameplay they want gameplay to kind of be like in this game.
Which is great. I like that as an idea of like, okay, well that means that you've made enough progress to get to that point. And that is good progress to me. It's like, okay, you're showing what gameplay will look like. That means that you have like a really what looks like a fairly detailed look of what it would look like, because this is a lot of detail. And that means that, you know, development's possibly started in the early stages, but it also means that like pre-development stuff like like getting all the concept art done and things like that is done. That's good progress, at least to me when I'm thinking about it.
Yeah, I agree. I think they're like probably just about getting into the making the game part of it now, where they're starting to actually like write the code and like render things in engine and like actually design the gameplay and stuff like that. But I think they're in the early phases of that still. I don't think there's very much of the game made at all, if any. So
and I'm okay with that. I think I'm going with that expectation.
They probably had just enough to make this trailer. That's about it.
You just you just tell somebody, look, I just want it to look like this. Like make that, stick this overlay on it, and like we need that as like a 2-minute video.
Actually, I think I saw another comment at one point from Nomura where he said that like they weren't really ready to show it yet, but they were worried about it getting leaked somewhere, so they decided to show it.
Like, that's it.
They were worried about leaks for KH4, so they're like, all right, we'll put together like a demo or like mock-up trailer and just like reveal that it exists. But that to me is like, again, it's a ways out. It's at least like 2.5 to 3 years away probably before we're gonna get this game. So yeah,
which I think that's fine. Like they had to spend some time figuring things out.
As long as it's not like 5.5 years, which is what it took from the announcement of KH3.
Oh, if this is more than 3 years, I think that's devastating.
Yeah, KH3 was announced at E3 of 2013, and it came out in January of 2019. It took 5.5 years for that game to come out.
Wow.
And a part of that was that, like, I don't think they were actually working on the game hardly at all, if any, until Final Fantasy 15 was done, and that game came out in like 2015 or 2016. So in that case, again, it was basically like 3 years from when they actually started making the game.
Yeah.
So
yeah,
I'm with you. I think either late 2024 or 2025 is when we're gonna get this game.
Yep. Anything earlier, I think would be a surprise.
Yeah.
Okay. Let's unless we have any other final thoughts, let's